So Chris Leader, I've known Chris Leader. I've been in the system since '93. Chris is a Canadian broker from Barrie, Ontario, with Century 21. Stepped out of that, started doing realtor training and coaching. Has been doing it for a long time. And then, I've always talked to Chris. I see him at our conferences. I see him at our broker meetings and our chairman meetings. And so I started talking to him about me and my business and what I'm doing, because I think I've done coaching before through corporate when I was with corporate, but I hadn't really done anything in a long term just for myself and our business. So Chris introduced us to Harry, and Harry is Doug's and my marriage counselor, as I kind of call it. He gets Doug and I communicating better because, like I said, even with Robbie, it's all about communication. It's all about having a plan and executing and being accountable. So he's really holding us accountable. We've got some new systems in place that we knew what we had to do. He just put our feet to the fire and did that. So Harry, being the solid man that he is, said, "Hey, if you ever want me to have a chat with your guys, I'd be more than happy to have a chat." So obviously we took him up on it. And so Harry's going to discuss with you some best practices for your business, whether you're 30 years in the business or just starting out. So I will stop there and introduce Harry. And Harry, welcome to the team. It's an honor to have you on the screen, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. And it's an honor to be here, actually. Just a couple of things for the record. Number one, I'm going to have to add the marriage counselor to my resume. It's not on there now. And number two, of all the ideas that are being implemented, if you like them, those were my ideas. If you don't, they were Mike and Doug's. I just want to put that out there. But listen, it really is nice to be here with you. I love what I do. I'm one of those rare people who this is my first career. I got into real estate when I was 17. It was Century 21 is who I went with. I got licensed when I was 18. And I've been in the business ever since, and that's 38 years I've been in the business. I've seen a lot of change. I've seen a lot of growth and a lot of evolution to our business to the point today where it's at. So, with that, it does offers me a bit of an insight as to what's happening in the marketplace and what are some of the things that have changed in the business and what are some of the things that have not. Because you see, success principles, I always say that success principles have not changed since caveman days. They won't. You want to eat, you got to go out and get it. How you get it has changed. With whom you get it has changed. But the basic success principles have always been the same, and they will continue to be the same. So what I want to talk to you about is one of those things that have not changed in probably in hundreds if not thousands of years, and that is who you know. Who you know is certainly a lot more powerful than what you know, and who you know will get you in the door. What you know will keep you in the door. So don't mistake that one is more powerful than the other, that you don't have to have one or the other. But so sphere of influence is one of those things that real near and dear to my heart. Why? Because I believe that separates the people who have a job in real estate versus the people who own a business in real estate. If you do not have a functioning sphere of influence, you simply have a job in real estate at this point. Okay, you're going to go through your career, and by the way, nothing wrong with that. As long as we understand the difference between the two, and as long as we understand what the expectations are, nothing is wrong with having a job in real estate. But if you go floating from deal to deal, if you are always looking for your next deal, where it's going to come from, if within time that you retire or get out of this business or sell your bit, you're not going to have anything to sell if you don't have a sphere of influence. We don't have any products. We don't have anything on shelves. What we sell is our goodwill and our sphere of influence. And that's one of the things I do. I consult on exit strategies, and the 5 ways to leverage your business when you're ready to exit this business. But without a sphere of influence, you cannot leverage anything. So you retire, you had a job in real estate, as long as you had fun, as long as you made money, great. The other side of that is if you do have a sphere of influence, now you own a business. Now you're going to, assemble that sphere of influence. You're going to nurture that sphere of influence. You're going to have contact with them. You're going to have fun with them. You're going to come from a place of service, and they're going to refer people to you over the years, over and over and over again. Let me just kind of put something to bed, because a lot of people will say, well, my sphere of influence, I've got a list of 1,000 people and none of them are buying. No, you got a list of 1,000 people is what you have. You don't have a sphere of influence. Because you see, to me, a sphere of influence is a limited number of people whom you know, and they know you. Those are the characteristics of a sphere of influence. I'm going to get into that right now. Number one, it should never exceed 150 people that you know. Now, these are people that know you and you know, but if you've been doing it for a while and you're successful, it could go as high as 250. Okay, any more than that is a distraction. What's it a distraction from? Well, your sphere of influence, let's say you have 150, and those are the people that are going to be your golden goose. That's what you're going to sell in the future. So I'm sure we all have heard and seen the concept of, this isn't anything new, I'm just sort of restating it, but you go through your sphere. Again, this is somebody, you pick up the phone and you say, hi, this is Karen Holness, and I am, I say, oh, hi, Karen, how are you? Okay, that's somebody who knows you. Or, hi, this is Karen, I met you over at Steve's house the other, oh, yeah, you're the realtor. Maybe a little bit of prompting. Those are people who know you. Those are only the people that belong in your sphere of influence bucket. Now, don't mistake that with your entire database, your entire CRM. Within your entire CRM, you could have for sale by owners, you could have people from the bowling league, you could have all kinds of lists in there. But the one that is most important to you, in my view, the one that, in fact, I don't take on any clients, any agents who tell me they don't want to work with a sphere of influence. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of their money for them to come coach with me. That's got to be a non-negotiable item when I coach somebody. So you have these folks, and by the way, you're not going to get 150 people referring business to you, okay? But you are going, the first thing to do is identify who is going to be an ambassador for your business. Now, what does that mean? The definition of an ambassador is anybody who will completely go out of their way to help you, okay? Help you build your business. The characteristics are they tend to have a large sphere themselves. They could be a small business owner. They could be a good friend of yours or a relative, or it could be that somebody you met that's working on the principle of reciprocity. And that's a whole different session that I do. I'm glad to come back and do that, because between SOI and business reciprocity, those two are golden if you apply that. But you figure out who your ambassadors are. If you're starting out brand new, you want to pick the people whom you think will be ambassadors, and keep that number is going to be low. I've had clients that are in the 300, 400, 500,000 GCI a year, and they do it with 12 to 15 ambassadors. Okay, if you have more than that, that's fantastic. You got a sales force out there working for you. But remember, these are people who know you. These are people who want to help you succeed. They go out of their way to help you succeed for whatever reason, reciprocity included, or they just like you. Okay, you may start out with one, and then you have two, and then you have three. And before you know it, if you want to get to the 6 figures, you have 4, 5, 6 of them. You get into higher than that, you may have as many as 12, 15 of them. So that's your first group. That is the most important group within your sphere of influence of that 150 people. These are people with whom you're going to communicate the most. These are people with whom you're going to interact the most. They're going to take care of those people. You're going to spoil them. You're going to do pop buys. You're going to, send them small gifts of appreciation. Those are the things that maybe once a year you have a client appreciation party, or, I know you just had your Thanksgiving. Ours is coming up. Some of my clients are doing pie giveaways for their sphere of influence. all kinds of things you do with your sphere. So ambassadors, number one. The second category that you create for your sphere of influence are your advocates. Now, your advocates are people who may not necessarily go out of their way to help you, but if you stay top of mind by various ways, various methods, if you stay top of mind, they will refer business to you, okay? So they're typically the 9 to 5 people. They have a job, they know people at their job, they may have a after school sports activity. They may have some religious beliefs. They go on Saturday or Sunday or Friday and they do their thing, their religious thing. But they generally don't have a huge sphere of influence, and they're generally quiet. But if you stay top of mind, when they get that call, hey, do you know a realtor, or I'm buying and selling, they'll say, oh yeah, talk to Angel or talk to Andrew, right? Because I know them and they're both pretty good, but your name is going to be on top of them, on top of that list. And that's what you want. You want to be one of those 2-3 names they give to people. If somebody came to you today and said, do you know a plumber? Maybe you know 2 plumbers. You're probably going to give them one or a couple of names, maybe 1, but maybe 2. So those are your advocates, and you're going to have more advocates than you will ambassadors, but you're going to get less business in the long run from them. And that's that. But it's also important to nurture the advocates and make sure that you stay in touch with them. You do the, how do you communicate with them? Well, it's up to you. I'll leave it up to you. You've got your drip campaigns, you've got the phone calls, you've got texts, you've got Instagram, you've got chat, you've got, pigeons. I don't care. Whichever way they like to be communicated to is the way you communicate with them. But the whole idea is to stay top of mind. So those 2 categories are your biggest 2. The third category is going to be your biggest category of them all by far. And that is going to be your to be determined, TBD, to be determined. Now, in this category, you're going to include people that whom you know, they know you. They're people that might have the potential, maybe, could be, refer you business in the future. But you got to cultivate that relationship. You have to work on it. You have to earn it. You have to be of service to them, just like the ambassadors and the advocates. And that's the kind of relationship that you want to nurture. That's going to be your biggest category of people. So you've got ambassadors, advocates, and now you have people who are to be determined. Now, with the to be determined, one of 2 things is going to happen to them. Number one, they're either going to move up to an ambassador or an advocate over time, or you're going to get rid of them. Yeah, you're right. Get rid of them. Now, some agents really freak out when I say that. But what I mean by getting rid of them, you don't have to get rid of them completely. You don't have to cut off all contact, but they do not belong on your SOI list. That's your golden goose. Okay. They do not belong on your SOI list. So remember, everybody on there knows you, but no, not all SOIs are created equally. So now you have your ambassadors, you're pretty strong there. You got them humming, you got your advocates, they're working for you. The TBDs, you're sort of, working with them, and you're trying to earn their business, earn their trust, advocating for them and being of service, all these things that I coach on how to take care of an SOI. But then another category is friends and family. And there's a reason why I separate those out. Very close friends and family. Put them down. And by the way, one person can be in multiple categories. So you got a really good friend, they're going to belong in the family and friend category, but they're also an ambassador. They go out of their way to help you. Okay, they belong in both categories because they each require targeted marketing. The message might be different for the ambassadors than it is for the advocates, than it is for the to be determined. So when you start marketing to those people and working to gain their trust and all the things we discussed, that message may be different from SOI to SOI. So that's why you want to create various categories for them, because you're not going to focus the same way on a TBD that you are on an ambassador, okay, for obvious reasons. So now the TBD, I say that they're either going to move up or you're going to get rid of them. Some agents really get nervous when I say get rid of them. Again, you're only going to get rid of them if you're SOI. You can put them in a different list. I was a speaker at a before COVID, and I'll never forget this gentleman. He said, "Hey, I have somebody who sees me, and a couple of people that never referred business to me, but they might. And every time I see them, they hug me, and they." I said, "Fantastic, fantastic. Create a group called Huggers and put them in the Huggers group, okay? But get them out of your SOI. They're not referring business to you. Remember, this is not an emotional thing. This is a business decision that you're making. Look." Family and friends stays on there, and I'll get to that in a second of your SOI. But the people that I want you to picture this. If you owned 150 unit apartment building, okay, and you consistently have people that are not paying the rent, as a smart business person, what are you going to do? Let me hear some answers. Come on. What are you going to do? Yeah, okay, I see this a lot. Yes, absolutely. You're going to kick them out, all right, and replace them with somebody who what? Who will pay the rent. Now, this is the same thing as owning in fact, it's a lot more precious than owning an apartment building. This is your golden goose, your sphere of influence. So why wouldn't you treat it the same way? Now, somebody may be a really nice person, a sweet person, but they give their business to their brother, or they have a family member. Absolutely understandable. I love it. They don't belong in your SOI. They may belong somewhere else in a list that you have, but not in your SOI. How long do you keep them in your database or in your SOI list? That's up to you. I don't know the relationship. I don't know all the ins and outs. You know your people better than I do. But all I know is if they don't refer business to you, at some point, you're going to replace that renter and put somebody in there who's going to pay rent, or at least the potential of paying the rent. The category of family and friends. All right, so let me just say this. A lot of family and friends do not want to do business with us. And I have, I've experienced this myself, and a lot of agents over the years have experienced it, and it's a very sensitive subject. But what I recommend we do is we have a conversation with our family and very close friends and say, look, I'm in real estate. I get it if you don't want to. The relationship that we have is wonderful. And believe me when I tell you, some of you have been there. I know that as a law of average, your relationship with your family and friends is not going to be the same when the deal is over. I guarantee it. Somehow or other, it's going to be different. I don't know how, but it will be different. Sometimes it's a disaster. All right. So if you're worried about that, or if your relative or friend does not want to do business with you for whatever reason, maybe they don't want you to know they had a bankruptcy 5 years ago. Maybe they don't want you to know that they had a foreclosure 10 years ago. Maybe they don't want you to know that they make too much money, not enough money. Who knows what the reasons are? But the reality is they don't want to do business with you. So what I would do is train that part of your SOI to say, look, understandable, but let me at least interview an agent for you. So anything that has to do with real estate anywhere in the United States, you talk to me first. I will interview them, and I will make sure that they're solid and they'll do a great job for you. But in the process, what are you going to earn? What are you going to ask for? A referral fee. Okay. So at least you're going to get a referral fee from that type of transaction, whereas before you would have gotten nothing. So if they're not going to use you, great. At least, get somebody that they can trust, and get somebody who will take care of their business. And at least, and then you could do that all, really all the time. With Cardis, it's the OGR, you can get you can make some decent money with an OGR, the outgoing referrals. So at any rate, so now you have your ambassadors, you have your advocates, you have your to be determineds, and now you have your family and friends. And I've explained the rotation, and you keep doing this, you keep working that. How you work it, that's a whole different session, but that's kind of the ongoing coaching that we do. But it's also, there's a method to the madness. And look, in North America, okay, in North America, and that includes the United States and Canada, are both sides, only 10% of the people have a need for a real estate agent this year. Only 10% of the population needs a realtor this year, okay, or a real estate agent this year. If you relied on that alone to eat, you're going to have 15 people from your 150 SOI that are going to need a real estate agent. And of those, maybe you'll get half, maybe you'll get more, but that's not enough to sustain you. That's not enough to sustain me, not enough to sustain most agents I know. So we're not really going after their personal deals. That's wonderful if we can get that. What we're really going after is the people they know. The average person in North America knows 150 people. Now that means that some people know 2,000 and others know 10. Okay, the real grumpy ones, all the Eeyores, only know 10. But the real gregarious people, so the ambassador-like people, they may know 500 people, 1,000 people. But on average, the average person knows 150 people in North America. If you take that, an average of 150 people they know, multiply it by 150 people in your sphere, what does that get you? Over 22,000 potential people that you have access to. You're not going to get, I mean, if you get 1% of those, it's wonderful, okay? But the idea is it's better to fish where there's fish, okay? The chances go up dramatically when you're working with your sphere, because it's people you know, people that know you, people that like you, people that trust you, or people that you're working on whose relationship you're working. That's your sphere of influence. That's your golden goose. And when you go to retire, again, we have no products, we have no shelves, we have nothing. All we have is the goodwill, which is what we created with our sphere of influence, with our clientele, and with a little bit of consulting and coaching. There are 5 ways to get out of that, and you can leverage your business in various ways, depending on your objectives, whether you want to walk away completely or stay in the game for a while. That the payout will depend on what's happening there. So just as I say to you that if you are new in the business, well, go look for somebody who's getting ready to exit, and buy their book of business. May not be cash, but it might be based on referrals. But again, there are many, many ways to do that. So with that, I'm going to pause for questions. That's the SOI. That's how it works. And what I typically talk about in 3 hours, I had to do in 15, 20 minutes this morning, but I think I gave you the basics. So what questions do you have? Comments?
I don't really have a question. I like your idea of, I've always known friends don't want to use their good friend that's a realtor on more than one occasion, but I like the idea of just saying, hey, if you don't want to use me and you want my input, can I help you interview or even refer an agent to you? And then I can be your kind of consultant on the side type of thing. I haven't heard that idea before. I like that idea. It's just that here we have to disclose that there could be remuneration coming to us, or the realtor that's actually in the deal has to disclose who they're paying out to. So I think our guys, you just have to be ahead of that one before the disclosure actually happens, that you're actually getting a piece of it, because it could bounce back and kick you in the ass too if you didn't tell that to your sphere and then all of a sudden they find out.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I mean, the service that you're going to be performing for them is this. Why should I go through somebody through you, my cousin, when I can just go pick somebody else? Well, number one, you're with Century 21, one of the largest real estate companies in the world. Number two, you have Cardis, okay? With Cardis, you have people in the relocation department all over the country, okay? And people in relo, and some of you may be in relo and you know this, but you are vetted, you are heavily vetted, background checks are done, you are You have reports that you have to do on transactions. There, you are judged by Cardis, and if you don't deliver the metrics, they kick you out. So if you stay on the Cardis team, relocation team, you are doing a good job, and that's who they're going to refer that deal to if you put it in as an OGR, as an outgoing referral. So, once you do that, again, this is an agent who is vetted by Cardis, one of the largest relocation companies in the world, along with Serva. But yeah, Cardis is huge. And I believe that we don't utilize them enough within the Realogy brand, including Century 21. What else, folks? Yes, Robbie.
So we're talking about our sphere, and I have this. Okay, so I used to work in a lot of restaurants, and I have some contacts from, just from, you have their contacts so you can switch shifts. And I'm not sure if they're in my sphere, if they even like me, kind of, trust me and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if they would, can I put them in a category or?
Well, it sounds to me like belonging to TBD. Remember, the only qualification to be in a sphere is they know who you are.
Right.
That's the very first qualifier. Now, if you have 300 people that know who you are, pick the top 150 if you're just beginning. If you're an established agent and you've been working on your SOI for a while, maybe 250. I've had clients do 300 because they're very good at what they do and very organized. But pick the top 150 people you know of that list. But they definitely belong in the TBD. And that's what it's for, to be determined. I don't know.
Right.
It may work, it may not, but you never know. The people whom you think will never give you anything all of a sudden come in and become ambassadors. I've seen all kinds of stuff. And then your own cousin will go out and buy a house from somebody else. I've had it happen. I have agents call me, man. They're upset. And the question is, well, when was the last time you talked to your cousin about real estate and reminded him you're in real estate? Well, I shouldn't have to do that. That's not the way the world works. I had a guy whose uncle and cousin bought real estate from somebody else in a year. I told him he needs a new family, but I also told him it was his fault for doing it. Did that answer your question, Rob?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, sure. What else?
This is the first time I'm hearing about Cardis. Excuse my ignorance. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think Michael is in a better position to speak, but Cardis is a relocation company. It is owned by Realogy, who's the parent company of Century 21. Realogy owns Century 21, ERA, Caldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, Corcoran Group, Realogy is a giant. And they also own Cardis. They tried to sell it a couple of years ago, but that sale didn't go through. They tried to sell it to Serva, but they're a relocation company, and if they do corporate relocation and then they do affinity relocation. So major companies like IBM and Apple and all these companies that moves their executives around, oil companies, Mobil, Exxon, we had that account for years. They use Cardis for the relocation package. Now, the affinity programs are things like for example, we have AARP, American Association of Retired Persons. They picked up that account. They picked up Amazon a few years ago. It got put on hold for now. So if you are an Amazon client, you get perks for using somebody in Cardis. Those are the types of relationships. Now you could apply, and I guess each office has its own, or each region has its own qualifications, but they generally want somebody who has done business and has been in the business for a couple of years or more. There are exceptions, but that's who Cardis is in general. Mike?
Yeah, for us here, guys, Cardis, I'm the Cardis contact. Cardis deals with multiple different businesses and industries. So if someone's relocating from Montreal to Vancouver, I get a phone call, Mike, we have a buyer that's interested in moving to Vancouver. And that's kind of how it comes to me. Then I talk to the buyer, I figure out where that they want to go, and then I will refer an agent in our office to that buyer, and then that agent has to report to Cardis on a weekly basis about the progress, because Cardis gets a referral fee. It's usually around 35%, but we get a lot of business from Cardis. And so I'm the quarterback, and depending on where that piece of business is going to is who I send it out to. Cardis wants me to jump through the hoops so I can reply in a very quick manner to the customer. I don't really require a lot from Cardis as Intel because I have the time to do it and ask the right questions. But yeah, so there's probably, you know, I can see, I know for sure Chris has had one. I know Rick's had one, just the faces that are here right now. It's just all depends on where the piece of business is going to go to, is who I'm going to hand out that piece of business. But and sometimes Cardis will allow an agent just to apply to be in that position. But I think I got a lot of respect with them because I'm the quarterback behind it, and I've got 138 of you guys that I can choose from, and they know I picked the right person for it. So if you're in the business and you're doing good business, you're going to get a Cardis piece of business from me because they want an established realtor.
Hey, I was just going to say too with Cardis, Mike LaPrairie just mentioned it about giving. I got one a couple of years ago, and one thing I really noticed is it really gets you to stand up for your business practices. And you know, they wanted me to list it the same day they phoned me, and I kind of pushed back a little to say, hey, well, we want to take great photos and do a really good video tour, and you know, we want to sell the home for a good amount. And you know, I found it really honed a business mindset, because you know, when you're working with Cardis, you move away from the emotional aspect of the actual homeowner to just a straight business relationship. And you know, it taught me a lot that way. It's a lot of extra work. They got a lot of extra paperwork that you got to do, but it was good. You know, it can hone your business quite a bit, actually. So that's, I just wanted to mention it.
And one thing to add to that, Cardis, when they're the relocation company, if you're moving, for an example, Montreal to Vancouver, they will guarantee a certain home value for your home in Montreal. That if it doesn't sell within X number of days, they're going to buy it. They're going to put it on the market, and if they get an excess, you also get the excess. But they're helping a family move from point A to point B, and their return on that is the referral fee.
It also teaches you how to protect your commission. Okay. You know, it's a very sensitive subject. I don't want to know how much you charge. You charge what you charge. But, you know, with Cardis, you know, you don't, in general, it doesn't matter which practice, but in general, I don't believe that we should compete on commission. We should compete on our value proposition. What are we going to bring to the table? And what's so unique about us that other, you know, realtors don't have, other agents do not have? That's your UVP. Have you thought about that? Do you have a UVP? Do you have a unique value proposition? If not, I challenge you to put one together. Okay. What are your strengths? Have you done a SWOT analysis? If not, I challenge you to put one together. Figure out your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities that you have in your business, and your threats. That's a SWOT analysis. So figure out what it is that's different about you, and that'll help you convey your value and why you are worth X, whatever it is that you're getting. Rick, do you have oh, you were just saying hello to somebody that walked by, I think. Okay. Okay. What are any other questions I could answer? Comments?
I think I have one. Just when I'm listening here, and I'm listening to a lot of the sales lingo and phrases and stuff like that. Furthermore, what you just finished was, how do you convey your message more in language that's acceptance, or language when you're talking to your sphere that you're not sounding like you have an agenda, or that you're an agent and you want their business? Is it more of a language, not just on your value prop, but maybe something like, can you turn it into you're there to help, or you're making people's dreams come true? Like, what would be more of the language or the approach when you start coming into your circle and sphere, or your monkey sphere, or whatever you want to call it?
Excellent question. I will tell you this. I'm going to focus more on the approach, the language maybe a little bit, but on the approach. if you call your sphere, your SOI, and every time you call, you're asking, do you know anybody who wants to buy and sell? Or who do you know that wants to buy and sell? Eventually, what do you think is going to happen when they see your phone number pop up on caller ID? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to send it where? To voicemail, because nobody wants to be put in that spot. So to me, part of this program is you have to ask for the business without asking for the business. You do enough for these people that when something comes up about real estate, there's no option. They're going to call Timothy. Okay. So you come from a place of service. I'll give you an example. So they talk about, oh, we're going to go ahead and go skiing next week at, at the Alpine Lodge. That's great. Have you been to the Alpine Lodge? No. Well, next thing you know, you're sending them links for free from the internet about the Alpine Lodge. You go on Amazon or you go and buy a book for $5 about the Alpine Lodge and have it sent straight to their house. Little things like that are of value. And you call and you are from a place of service. How are things? And you listen. I don't coach to, for your sphere. Now you can ask people you're working with, who do you know that wants to buy and sell? I think Mike is right on the point. Before the deal closes, when they're really happy with you, especially if you ratify a contract and they got the asking price and they're all excited and primed, boom, move in for the referral. That's the right time. But your sphere is a little different. You do not want to consistently call them up and ask them for referrals. You do that by asking for referrals without asking for referrals. And that's by being of service to them and by solving problems that they have. And the only way you're going to find out what their pain points are is if you call them and listen to what they have to say. So that's the strategy. As far as what to say, it's hard for me to do that because everybody's different. Everybody's sphere is different. And you know your people better than I do. But I do know if you call them all the time and all you're doing is asking for referrals, they're going to avoid your calls, man. Yeah. Great question, though. Anybody else? Well, Michael, I think they don't have any other questions. I must have done a decent job to
I think so. I think you're getting everybody to think about your immediate sphere and how to separate the sphere. I like how you describe it, and everybody has a little bit of a different twist on it. Ambassadors are, and I've always said this, these are the guys that may never use you, but they'll give you everybody that they know that they hear is interested in real estate. And you want to have your groups of people classified, and the goal is how you describe it is your TBDs, to move them up in line to be those people. But it's all about, guys, it's all about communication. It's all about asking for help, giving your sphere of influence information on their value of their properties on an annual basis, asking them what's going on in their neighborhoods, asking them what's going on in their strata, because you have to know the lay of the land. And Harry said it, if you just keep going after them on a sales mission, you're that friend of theirs that's going through the really bad breakup that keeps talking about that and only wants to talk about that, and you end up you end up avoiding the phone call and the conversation because it's depressing. So I mean, ask them for important information. It'll give you something of value that when somebody else asks you about that neighborhood or that tower, you can say, oh, my friend lives there, my friend just told me this about it and this is why we like it. Do your homework. But yeah, Harry, that's good words of wisdom, as my father used to always say. It's sometimes it's better to hear it from somebody else than my old man. So it's thank you for sharing that. Doug, did you want to have anything else to add to this? You with the suntan and welcome home.
No, I'm pretty relaxed here, Mike. I'm just having a great time listening. It's been great, Harry. It's the things that you pointed out are we all need to hear again, and it was very informative, and I found it very useful. And I've been taking notes as you've been going along here, and going to try and incorporate that into things I'm doing. So Thank you for that. I thought it was great. I don't really have much more to add to that, Mike.
Thank you.
So yeah, so guys, unless anybody else has anything to add, thank you for your 30 minutes. It's always a pleasure to see you, and Doug and I will see you tomorrow. Harry.
Bye, everybody.
All right, guys,
Take
have a
care.
great
Bye.
week. If you need us, give us a call.
Bye now. Have a good week.